Hi everyone. Today I am working on another thrift haul. I have only a couple weeks until my spring market, and so I've got some things I'm gonna be fixing up here, so let's jump right into it and I'll show you what I've got. The first item I'll show you here is this pot. I think this is so beautiful. These look so cute in the spring when you put spring bulbs in them. I am going to just give this a little refresh with some paint. I found a whole bunch of candlesticks that I'm really excited about fixing up. The funny thing is they're all in twos. I didn't find any that matched in a set of three. These two are a matching set, but the top is missing. And so to make them match and look nice, I'm gonna need to do something with the tops here. And I'm not sure if that will mean that I'll have to paint them to get them to match and look good on the top or not, but we'll see. And these are nice tall ones that I'm definitely going to be painting. This little basket vase is really cute, and once I paint it, it's going to look really good. I've got a couple of baskets here that I found. This one I think is great the way it is, but I love whitewashing baskets, so that's probably what I'm going to do with this one. Although I think I'm going to do something fun and add some kind of an applique to the basket. I'm not sure how I will do that yet, but we are going to do something different with this one and with this one as well. This is a magazine holder, and it's got a little divider inside of it and these little legs, and I just couldn't resist this one, so we're gonna do something fun with this one as well. I've got a couple of Eiffel Tower things here, Paris things here. I always like to decorate a little bit with a Paris theme. I always sell my Eiffel Towers, even though I just use them to, you know, decorate my booth with. Just clean this one up and probably decorate it with some spring flowers. And I found a journal with a picture of the Eiffel Tower on it, and it's brand new, so these I think will look really nice together in a display. And whenever I find vintage music, I cannot leave it. I have to pick it up, because if you've watched any of my videos, you know how I like to do crafts with the vintage music sheets. It's got such beautiful music on these papers. This is going to be a really nice thing to have when I want to do some vintage music sheet crafting. So let's get started on painting these projects. Before painting, the first thing that I like to do is give everything a really good clean. I'm using some white paint that I have left over. This is from Rust-Oleum. Sometimes when I start a new project, I tend to get a little nervous if I am not sure if I'm painting it the right color or if I'm using the right product. But then usually what happens is, even if it doesn't turn out the way that I expected it to, I can always repaint it or do it over. I found that it's the same with things in my life, that I could be afraid to start something or to try something that I know that the Lord is leading me to do. But even if I make a mistake, God can work with that. He can fix any mistake that I make. You know, if I don't do anything, then I'm not giving Him anything to work with. Once I've given everything a first coat of paint, I go back and I do it all again and give everything a second coat. Used a sponge to wet distress these candlesticks. I'm learning that faith is not just a belief in something that you have, but that it's an action. And so you have to do something with what you believe, and then it becomes real. That is what Hebrews 11 is all about. I did a very light sand in between the coats of paint so that they were smooth to the touch. I'm wet distressing with the kitchen sponge again. I wanted to add a little something to the candlestick, so what I'm doing here is using an old Christmas tag that I have, and I painted it white, and then I added a couple of transfers to it. On the other side, I did a stencil. I used the same black paint to go along the edges and kind of do a cheat distress with the paint. I did this to both sides of this little label here, and then I lightly sanded all of it to give it an aged look. I sealed this with a clear top coat. I really like the wood on these candlesticks, so I'm just removing the glue and the top plate on the one. I'm going to sand the tops of these to smooth them out and remove some of the burn marks that are in the wood. Next, I added some clear furniture wax by Magnolia Home to the tops of these wood candlesticks. I didn't really like how they just didn't quite match, and so after this I decided I was going to go ahead and add some white wax to them to see if that would help them look more matched. I applied the white wax to the entire candlesticks, and I think that did it. For this little basket vase, I'm just doing a kind of a dry brush paint on this. I don't want to completely coat it. I added just a little bit of water to this container and then took my wet paintbrush and just stirred it around in there so that I could whitewash this basket. I knew this probably wasn't going to work, but I wanted to try it, so I'm adding an IOD transfer here to this basket. It actually went on really easily, and I knew that doing this was going to cause a lot of cracks in the image on the basket, but I thought that that could look pretty cool, so that's why I wanted to try it. Once I had the transfer rubbed in as best as I could, I applied a clear coat sealer. Well, the transfer on my basket did not work as good as I had hoped. I kind of thought that this would happen, and I'll show you up close here. It's just not sticking real well, and I knew that it would crack and pull apart, but there's some pieces that have come off of it. Even though I put a top coat on there to seal it, I'm going to try putting some Mod Podge on and just see if that will help adhere the transfer better to the basket. For this basket, I knew it would be easiest to use spray paint on the inside, so I'm giving it a quick coat all over with this white spray paint and primer. Once the spray paint had dried, I brought it inside and I brushed white paint all over the areas that I didn't get. And I also think it looks nicer when you have kind of the brush strokes on the basket instead of just spray paint. I found this wood plaque at the dollar store and I drilled a couple holes in it, and then I just painted it with the DIY cottage color in gray. And then next thing that I'm adding to this is a paint inlay. So in my last video, I used this for the first time, and I'm going to use it for a second time and see how it works. I'm cutting out more of the edges off of this so that that doesn't show up on the plaque. I applied this directly to the wet paint, and then I used a wet paper towel and dabbed it in to make sure it was imprinted really well. I actually let this dry overnight, and then I sprayed it with some water and dabbed that in, and it didn't want to pull up right away, so I had to spray it again and then give that a few more seconds, and then it did start to pull up. Next time I do a paint inlay, I will not let it sit overnight. I was happy to see that you can get a second use out of a paint inlay. I'm not sure if I could get a third one out of this, but I might try it. The next thing I'm doing is applying some of my 50/50 top coat and water mixture. I applied a final coat once that was dry. To attach this to the basket, I'm using some wire, and I'm just going to poke it through the basket and through those holes that I drilled in the plaque, and then I'm just twisting them on. For this little plant pot, I'm mixing up some of my gray DIY paint with some white paint so that I can get a middle of the road gray here, and I'm just brushing that all over for the first coat. When the gray paint was dry, I lightly painted over it with some white paint.